Hey y'all, welcome to part two of putting sound deadening and kind of taking care of the floor pans of my Jeep XJ and getting rid of old carpet. So this is the installation part where we're going to put in Noico 80 mil sound dampener, and then on top of that we're putting in Second Skin Luxury Liner Pro. It's that heavy, what is it, mass vinyl something, I can't remember, but it's a further sound deadening measure that's supposed to work really well. And I've got the decibel readings to prove whether or not it works well. So let's go ahead and figure this out. All right, y'all, getting started. What we're gonna do first is we're going to vacuum, make sure to get as much dust particles up as we can. We got a lot of dirt back here. And then after that first vacuum, we're going to take isopropyl alcohol and cloths, and we're going to scrub and get up anything we can in terms of grease and dirt remaining. And then we may go ahead and vacuum one more time after that. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Well, yeah, my GoPro completely died. But basically, you're taking isopropyl alcohol and you're wiping up any dust, especially in these little troughs and everything. You want to wipe up every inch of the surface where you think you're going to be putting the sound dampener. It has an adhesive back. Every inch of that surface you want to wipe up with isopropyl alcohol, including under the rubber mat, because we're going to try and get some high up in there, I think. So you do that on the passenger side, you do that on the driver's side, you do it on the back of every inch. So this is going to take a while. Sorry, my GoPro finally decided to kick the bucket. Time to buy a new one. So rather than have you watch every minute of this, I'll come back when I'm done, and then we'll go to the next step, which is either vacuuming one more time, or it's going to be actually putting the sound deadener, laying it out, getting it mapped, trying to figure out, okay, where am I actually going to try and cover, etc. Because some of this factory stuff is still good, and you can either lay it over it or beside it or whatever. So anyway, we'll get there when we get there. All right, so I've gone over this with isopropyl alcohol and wiped it all down, cleaned up all the gunk and stuff, and then I vacuumed it one more time. We are ready to lay out the panels, see what kind of coverage I can get with the amount of Noico that I could afford. Stuff's not cheap. And then I'll show you how to go ahead and lay this all, lay it out, install it, and then how to roll it down. So getting there. All right, so this is what one box of this stuff looks like. You open it up, it comes in folded panels like this. I got mine from Amazon. I will leave you the link in the description of this video. And I've already installed this stuff all along my roof. When I was redoing the headliner, I did Noico 80 mil up top, and then underneath the Noico, between the headliner and the Noico, is a layer of adhesive foam that further cuts down on noise. And my roof is silent. I mean, when it rains, I can barely hear the raindrops, so I really like that. But basically, you know, that's about how much a single sheet will cover right there. I doubt I have enough to do the whole floor of the Jeep, but the good news is you don't have to cover all of it with this sound dampener stuff. If you cover most of it, you're in good shape. And look, I am going to take advantage of those factory ones that still look okay, and go from there. So I'm going to lay this out, try and get a sense for where I should put it and how much I'm going to cover, and then I'll come back and show you what it's going to look like before I do the actual installation. All right, so command decision here. For this video, I'm only going to show you the front, because I'm going to buy some more Noico. That's basically how much one box. It basically covers what I want to in the front. And even though I'm not covering every square inch, I do want to cover around the transmission hump there where it connects to the engine, because a lot of noise comes from there. And so I'm going to cut those two pieces leaning on either side of it. I'm going to cut those up and fit them around the sides. And I've got two pieces that you can only see part of them because they're going way up the firewall on either side, passenger and driver. Then I've got a piece that kind of drapes over the frame rail that's right there going side to side. You got to be careful because there are holes and plugs and stuff that you're going to have to cut around to make sure you can still get to them. for your seats and other things. And then right here in the back, kind of under, right where the passenger would put his or her feet, I want to do a lot of coverage, and also around that hump that's kind of like where the transmission meets the transfer case and starts to connect to the drive shaft. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do all this in the front, and I'm going to reinstall my front seats after I get everything done and the carpet installed. And I'm just going to leave the back exposed and not put the back seats in until I can afford some more noico and finish this job. So anyway, that's where I am. Let's go ahead and get to the installation. So let me just show you on an easy section, and you'll get the idea. You're going to need one of these tools. They're invaluable. They're a roller, and they really help with getting this thing flattened out. For these kind of troughs and stuff, you're going to just have to use, see these troughs right here, you're going to have to use whatever you got on hand, the rear end of a Sharpie or something like that, and try and get it into the troughs as best you can. I have gone ahead and marked out a, you can kind of feel where that plug is in the floor, and I kind of did this with my finger to mark out where I'm going to cut a hole to expose that plug. And yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to remove, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to remove the backing from this. Then I'm going to place it carefully so that the hole is exposed and in the proper position. And I'm going to gently kind of lay it out, not pressing it down all the way. I'm going to start with pressing in these troughs to try and get as much of the material in there as I can. And in fact, I might go ahead and do some of that now, just so the material kind of is pre-configured to conform to that. What else we got there? That's the only one, okay. And that trough goes there, right? I just know from having used this stuff in the past that if you don't get it ready ahead of time, it really is very difficult to get the material to go down into divots like that, into troughs. So I'm gonna cut the hole first, then I'm gonna remove the adhesive backing, and I'll come back when I'm rolling and show you how I'm gonna roll it on. And there you go, I've got the hole cut, used a pair of box cutters or set of box cutters. Everything's looking good. I'm gonna peel the adhesive backing off and put it into place. Okay, so you can see I've got it in place. Looks good. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this roller, and you wanna use this roller and press it down, just like I'm doing here. Press it down so that it definitely sticks, and you start to lose sense of those kind of, I don't know what you would call them, like quilted pattern or whatever. So you're gonna do that across the entire sheet and then move on to the next. All right, so that's what it looks like when you've gone over it thoroughly with the roller. You can still see some of that quilting, but for the most part, it's basically pushed all the way down. Air pockets are gone. Everything looks really sharp, and that's it. So I've got a hell of a job to do. I've got to do that all along the passenger side and then on the driver's side. So I'll come back when it's done and when it's time to get started with the luxury liner. That probably took a couple of hours to carefully cut everything and use the roller to make sure that it's that you get it properly pushed down as far as you can to mate with the surface. Now, as you can see, I left some gaps. I mean, there's like 2 or 3 inch gaps here and there. That's okay. With this stuff, you don't have to cover every square inch of the surface. I did run out of material, like I mentioned earlier, so I've already had bought some more to finish out the back, but I'm going to do the front to show you guys how it's all done. And here I have this weighted vinyl matting that is sold by Second Skin. It's called Luxury Liner Pro. It's top end stuff. I'm going to go ahead and put this in. This you do need to get across every surface if at all possible. So the idea is that cuts down the silver backed mat. There is a density mat that cuts back on certain vibrational frequencies, and this hopefully catches the other. So by pairing the two, you really maximize on cutting down in noise. So I'm going to go ahead and place this stuff, start looking at what I've got, if I've got enough. I've certainly got enough to do the front. I don't know if I have enough to cover the back as well. That's okay. I've already got to order more of the that stuff up there. So if I have to order a little bit more of this, hopefully I can without having to spend another arm and a leg. Super expensive. I'll leave a link to this stuff at the bottom. Just take my word for it. Very, very expensive. So after I've got it kind of laid out and a plan in my head, I'll come back and tell you what I'm going to do. All right, so here I am under the passenger side of the dashboard, and I've kind of got the second skin laid out where I want it, but you can see this is really thick stuff, and foam is on one side, and you've got this mass-loaded vinyl facing up, and it just doesn't want to really conform to the surfaces like those mats, the silver mats do. So what I'm going to do is kind of take a Sharpie, and I'm going to mark a line where I want to put the seam to cut it. And then I'm going to either use scissors or a box cutter. Not here. I'm going to take it out and do it somewhere safe. I don't want to start cutting into underneath here. And then go from there and continue to lay it out, because what you will wind up doing is then once I've got that cut, I'll use this piece to kind of lay flatter against the transmission hump here, and then go from there. And then what you will do in the end is get yourself a roll of this aluminized tape, and you'll tape the seams where the cuts meet. And so I'll go ahead and do that and show you the results. I am now ready. You can see that I have cut the section into two. So I've got this one that's going to go along the wall of the transmission bump there, and this one goes up and under the rubber mat and a little bit up the firewall. And you can see that I've cut holes for where the bolts for the seats are going to go. So you have to remember to do all that. It would be a real pain in the butt to find those holes after it's all said and done. Now this is not the easiest stuff to work with. So keeping it, getting it to go where you want it and then staying there. You might want to use some C-clamps or something, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this headliner adhesive. Hopefully it'll work. It's all I've got on hand. What's it called? Second Skin sells their own adhesive to use on these mats. I really hope this doesn't like eat away at the at the foam side, because the foam side is what goes down and where you have to spray this. But I'm just going to do one side up there at first, push that up against the firewall, and leave down here undone for the moment. Then I'm going to do the same on that side panel, and just do it in stages like that until I get down here where I'm gonna have to figure something out to make sure it stays stuck right up against this cross member here. So not exactly easy work. Takes a very long time to get this stuff done. So anyway, let's keep going. And there you go. That is kind of what you're aiming for right there. All right. And I've put these on top of the cross member so that the adhesive can get a chance to stick to the bottom of the foam. And I'll leave those on there for a while till the adhesive kind of cures. So from here, I'm going to move back and finish doing the passenger side and the side of the transmission hump there. And then I will go over and start at the front of the driver's side and go all the way back. And then I can put the carpet on and maybe the seats and start driving this thing again. Anyway, stay tuned. All right, y'all. Took me all day, not kidding. I have a feeling that getting my center console on and everything is going to be a bit of a chore. And you can see some of the glue isn't exactly holding here. And I gave up on taping because even though it says to do that in the instructions, that aluminum tape doesn't really stick to the actual vinyl back of these things. So anyway, I'm now going to go grab the carpet, throw it on. Let's see what we got then. All right, y'all. So before I can put the carpet in, there's some work that needs to be done. This is the old carpet. You don't want to throw that away. You want to hang on to it. And underneath it is the the carpet that I'm going to put in, you can see it is molded, but you got to throw some support under there to give it the proper shape. So I've put like a bucket under the front end there for the front transmission hump, and then coming back here I got to find something smaller to kind of put in there to give it the right overall shape. Then once you do that, what you do is you take a piece of chalk and you kind of rough out where the cuts are going to go, and then we'll proceed from there. But you're not doing any cutting yet. You're doing two things. You're checking to make sure you got the right carpet and that the shape is correct. It should be a little bit bigger around the edges, which mine is. That gives you some extra material that you can trim off at the end. And it should have the right overall shape. You know, frame supports or space for the frame cross members right here, which mine has, kind of mushed up right now, but they're there. And just make sure that they sent you the proper carpet. If they didn't, obviously send it back before you start cutting the stuff up, right? Because they won't take a cut up carpet. So that's where I am, and I got my GoPro to start working again. So I'll go ahead and get to work, and you can watch me on the GoPro footage. I've used chalk to kind of make marks where I'm going to do the cutting. But the first thing I'm going to do, I'm not going to cut out these center portions yet, or the holes. First thing I'm going to do is cut along the front, along there, and then I'm going to transfer it into the Jeep. And what you do to transfer in the Jeep is basically you fold the back to meet the front, then you put it inside center as best you can, and let the front fall toward the front and get it up under the floorboards, etc. And start cutting and trimming from there. So, and I also just found out I can't find my charging cord for my GoPro, the FireWire. So even though the GoPro is working right now, as soon as the battery dies, it's a goner. So sorry about that, y'all. But look, we're almost to the end at this point. This has been a long journey. It takes much longer than I thought. I worked all day, Saturday and Sunday, and I had to take a day off of work to get to this point and hopefully finish up today. So if you're thinking of making this a weekend project, maybe work longer hours on Saturday and Sunday, or you know, do it quicker than I did. Filming it certainly does slow things down. So but budget your time. Anyway, let's keep going. So I've got the front cut out, and you'll notice that I tried to cut it a little bit bigger than the old carpet so that I would have some material left if I screwed up or whatever. I may have to trim that after I get it in. Always do less cutting than you need to, because you can always trim it up carefully if it winds up you got too much stuff. Before I put the carpet in, I want to show you an argument for having a pro do your Second Skin Luxury Liner Pro. Got good coverage, but you can see in terms of square footage, undershot, I need at least one other mat for the back. And once you start working around your transmission and everything, it becomes geometric hell. So unless you have a lot of experience doing it, you're going to wind up like me with this Frankenstein nightmare of seams. So I have no doubt this is probably going to affect the ultimate capability of this stuff to block all the noise I want it to. But you know, I did my best. So this is what it looks like when an amateur does it. If you don't have these kinds of skills like me, I don't have them. Probably a good argument for having a pro do this stuff of your Jeep, but what the hell, onward. Taken a lot of work, and part of the problem is that the geometry has completely changed. This is no longer stock geometry. I've got big padding that came with the carpet attached to it. I've got all that padding, you know, as a result of the second skin luxury liner, and so you just kind of have to play it by ear and cut carefully and slowly and work it into the proper position. And it's looking like I'm gonna have to trim off a lot from around the edges and from the back. But I'm almost there, and I've used the studs that come up for your seats. I've used that as a reference point. So not immediately, but early on in this process, do your X cut in the carpet there, and secure those two so you can kind of get a feel for where you're at. The cross member mold outs on the carpet are not going to match up perfectly, again, because of the luxury liner. So I think over time, this will all settle into place. I'm not using any adhesive. Don't want to use that, but because I think this will take care of itself after a while. So let's get to trimming and finishing cutting holes and all that. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some of the bolts for the front parts of the seats on those cross members. I'm going to lift up the carpet and put the bolts in underneath so I can feel where the bolt holes are. I'm going to cut a hole in the back here and put a bolt down to hold it in place before I cut the front holes. So just keep an eye on that. That's what I'm doing, and I'm using the bolts to kind of get a feel for where the holes are, but you'll see. Now, almost to the point, all the bolt holes for the front seats are cut in. I put little push whatever you call those things. They're like push pins or whatever, you know, like to hold things in place, panel clips, you know, but they're just the push style. I put those through into the holes on the kind of back frame section here, just to hold things in place from the rear. That helps to kind of keep things from shifting around. You know, one thing you may want to try is, if you have somebody else to help you, kind of pulling out from the center and pushing the carpet as far as possible that way and that way. Mine's looking kind of lumpy still in the center, so I may have a problem later on just in terms of it not looking nice and crisp. I don't really care. So your mileage may vary. I'm going to go forward like this. So now what I'm going to do is go and trim down the sides. Each side here, I might leave the back as is, just because the back seat will be covering that anyway. And then we'll pick it up when it's time to reinstall the seats. So I've trimmed the driver's side, and I'm going to go ahead and I've got the screws here. I'm going to go ahead and replace the trim on this side, just to see if I need to trim more or whatever. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the driver's seat in, and then from there you can do the rest of this. I mean, it's not that hard from here. It's just trimming and putting the trim pieces in, and then finding your new bolt holes and everything when you put your seats in. So I will, on the GoPro, film the seat installation, but you know, it's the same as when you took it out. That's what you're doing, is just the reverse. Now, again, I'm sorry I didn't get enough materials from the rear, but I will. I've got some of that stuff on order. I'm not going to videotape that, but you saw how I did the front, and the principle is the same. And in general, I think what you need for luxury liner are 6 or 7 panels. And for the Noico 80 mil, you know, I think, I don't want to misquote here, but I think I got 20, I originally got 18 square feet, and that was not enough. So 28 is probably what I need. I'll put it in the link to the video below. Once I get this edited and everything, I should have all the materials by then. So I'll put the exact quantities and link to these materials below the description, in the description of the video. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I probably won't come back to, well, yeah, I'll come back and sign off, but for now I'm just doing the trim. All right, before I put the driver's side seat in, a lot of stuff got on the new carpet and I want it to look new, so I'm going to go ahead and take a vacuum to this quickly and then put the front seat in. I could not find the hole for this screw right here, but that's okay because I'm short one anyway, so I can put that one in on the other side, on the passenger side. So vacuum, then driver's seat. I'm losing my mind. Before I do that, before I install the seat, I'm going to put back on the kind of bracket that holds the console in place. Then I'm going to put the console back on. Then I'm going to do the front seat. So sorry about that. I'll do it from the other side since I just vacuumed up this side. that's installed. Now I'm going to try the console. And remember, I'm going to have to lift up that parking brake all the way. I may have to, I don't want to get the driver's side dirty again with my shoes, but darn it. I may have to get over there and adjust the, yeah, the four-wheel drive shifter and the shifter itself to get the console on. So, I have to pull the four-wheel drive shifter into either neutral or too high, and the actual shifter, I think, has to come back into neutral, and that's all okay because parking brake will be on. So just be careful. If you're on a slope, make sure you got chocks and all that kind of stuff when you're doing this. So let's just go ahead and do it. GoPro died, so here we go. Lift this up all the way as far as you can get it. Then get your shifter, get that out of the way. I don't want to snap any wires. May have to be in neutral. Hold on, I gotta put the phone down to do all this so I can use my hand on the brake. So I think the four-wheel drive shifter is in neutral, maybe? I don't know. You'll figure it out. You may find that at this point, you know, you still need to cut a little bit of the carpet and stuff. Like I think I'm gonna have to cut a little bit off around here, which is fine. I'm gonna try not to, just because I don't want to do any more carpet cutting. I'm tired of this job. We'll see how it goes. But you're gonna come in and you're gonna lift the rear, and the console's sitting right there. You're gonna lift this end high up, and that end, the front end of the console, you're gonna dive in to that space up front there, and then you're gonna kind of wriggle it around all the stuff you got to get it around, and then and place it down where it's supposed to go. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'll come back when I'm done. I need both hands. Looking much better. So don't forget, I've only put 2 screws in so far. I put this screw in here, and I put this screw in here, right, to hold it in place up front. Definitely a different kind of feel because there's so much more padding and stuff like that. But it went in, not a problem. And next I'm gonna put this tub into the console right there. And remember, the 2 holes at the bottom have to line up with that bracket we put in, and those screw in, and then these 2 front pieces screw in right here, and this back piece, this back section right there is for the lid. When I put that back on, the 2 screws go there. So I'm going to do that off camera, then I'm going to put the front seat on. But so I'm not going to show you when I'm going to clean these off. In fact, this is a good time before you put the console back in. Do yourself a favor and wipe it down and clean it off. The facing pieces for the shifter and for the four-wheel drive shifter, I'm going to give those a cleaning before I reinstall them. So I'm not going to show you to do that. But just remember, don't put your T shifter back in until after you reinstall the little front-facing piece that shows you what gear you're in. So anyway, I'm going to put this little tub back in, then do the front seat. One thing I forgot, this seat belt has a sensor, right? And it plugs in to one that's now in here. So don't forget that. Now I've got to undo the tub and fish around for it. So do yourself a favor, don't forget. So I am really pleased with this carpet. It's looking really good. Still have to do the passenger side. The seat's installed. Sorry, I just put my finger in the way. I'm looking at it going, well, my next task is going to be to deal with these seats. I might just get some slip covers, but then I've got that rust down below. But maybe I can just, without removing the seats, maybe I can deal with that. But anyway, that's it. I think you guys can take it from here. Putting the seats back in. I'm not going to show you the rear end stuff because I'm going to have to wait for materials and stuff. I will, in addition to putting links for the soundproofing and stuff, I'll put a link for the carpet where I got it from. It's like, I can't remember. It's some standard, you know, car interior place that you find online. But I'll put a link to that. Am I happy with the carpet I got from them? It's okay. I don't know. It's okay. It doesn't seem to really like fit perfectly, even when I did my best to pull it taut and everything. And maybe that's just because I'm inexperienced with putting carpet in. But I mean, I'd recommend it. It's just don't don't expect you're going to put this in and it's going to be perfect. You have to put a lot of work into this. And, you know, maybe consider, do you want to do this DIY if you're not experienced? Not experienced. I like the look, I like how it wound up, but, you know, you may not. So anyway, on the passenger side, just vacuumed that. You can totally see it is looking great, and I put the new floor mat in there. I'll be happy when the whole car is done, but I am happy with this so far, and I can start driving it again soon. Once I get the passenger seat in and this carpet trimmed up, I can start driving it again soon. So happy with that. Don't have to wait for the back to drive it. So, and here are the results. At idle, we're looking at about 57.6 decibels, and that is a little bit of an improvement over the idle I was getting, the sound at idle I was getting before I put in all the soundproofing. I can tell you right now, though, that 57, there's a huge difference. There's a big difference in frequency. Like, it's very quiet in the cabin right now. I honestly don't know why it's not even more quiet than that. And we're going to compare these numbers to some luxury cars and sports cars and stuff and see what they look like. 57.6 is not bad at all. I am very happy with the results I got on this. And keep in mind, the doors are not soundproofed, so we're getting some vibrational noise through the doors. If I ever get around to soundproofing those, I'll mention this too when I get up to 55 and test it. That should certainly cut down on any vibrational noise. And you'll notice too, I finished the back, so I've got the seats back in, all the new carpets there. Here's the leftovers I have to get rid of. Has been done, and I'm really happy with this. So anyway, let's go ahead and test it out at 55 and then compare those numbers to what some luxury vehicles look like. So let me take this thing on the road. Actually, before I take it on the road, let me show you the numbers you're looking at for these luxury cars. And I apologize, I can't remember what kind of cars these are. I know that, like, it's a BMW, a Mercedes, and I think the third one's an Audi, but I don't know which lines on this image are which. But anyway, between 80 and 100 kilometers an hour, that's more or less bracketing 55 miles an hour. What you're looking at with luxury cars is decibel levels anywhere from about, like, I'd say 66 to 76 decibels in luxury cars. All right, so 66 to 76 at about 55. So let's see how the Jeep compares to that in terms of decibels. All right, so at 55 miles an hour, 78.2, we did cut it by a couple of decibels. I can tell you, though, by just like, you know, from experience having driven this car for so long, the major contributor to noise inside the cabin are the fact that I'm using ATR or all-terrain wheels, and I have some pretty rigid components in the suspension. I'm using a lot of polyurethane bushings, etc. So that really, the noise, the wheel noise on the road gets transmitted directly to the frame. And I don't think any amount of soundproofing is going to mitigate that. They sell a product that you can spray on the wheel wells and stuff, but I'm probably not going to get into that because honestly, I'm not sure with the noise actually going through the axles and then up into the control arms to the frame. I'm not sure that spraying the wheel wells is going to do a darn thing. But I'm pretty happy because, look, just qualitatively, even though the decibel readings only went down by a couple of points, qualitatively I can have a conversation inside the cabin now, and I can actually listen to the radio without having to blast it. So it's definitely an improvement when you're on the road and going 55 miles an hour. So that's it. Look, hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it was instructional on how to soundproof your XJ. The other thing I'll mention before I sign off is that the doors are still not, the side of the vehicle is still not soundproofed. So I imagine if and when I get around to that, that's going to really kind of improve it by another few decibels, I would imagine. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, Doc out. Oh, you made it to the end. That's awesome. Listen, I'm Doc. I'm the one who's, the voice behind these videos. And I really appreciate you taking the time to actually watch the whole thing. That's fantastic. If you've got time, if you want to, if you like the video, hit like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to hit the bell button so you get notified of new videos when I put them up. I'm going to try and do one a week. And I'm going to do a bunch of Instagram stuff, so make sure you follow me there and on Twitter. Instagram's going to be the shorter stuff. I don't have any merchandise yet. I'm planning to as the channel grows. If I succeed, I'll get some merch. For now, if you really want to help me in another way, you like these videos enough, I'm going to put links to my books in the description of the video. I'm a science fiction author in my spare time as well, so I'm juggling a lot of balls. But anyway, I really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you at the next one. Hey, do me a favor and turn this junk off. I don't know how to deal with tech.